but really just kind of relating to you and giving you clarity. So today, whether you're a first-time founder or an experienced entrepreneur, you're in the right place to learn about how to navigate intellectual property and innovation strategy. Today's question is a fantastic one, and it touches on challenge that many tech startups face. The question that we've got from one of our members of the Academy today is, where should I begin when building a tech startup? And the question reads, for an electronic product, does it make sense to pursue a patent from the very beginning? Hypothetically speaking, let's say I'm building a video doorbell product like Ring in a world where such a product does not already exist. So this is like before we have the Ring, uh, you're building it. Would pursuing a patent as the first step make sense, since it wouldn't stop companies like Nest, Arlo, or Logitech from coming and making their own versions? Okay. So we're going to break down the question, and I have some things. If I maybe have some books to kind of show you some of the things that you can do in addition to getting a patent. But let's start off with the first question. Where should I begin when building a tech startup? So the main portions of this question, it highlights two big ideas. The first one being how to prioritize as a startup and whether patents are must-haves right out of the gate. Okay, so we're going to answer this by focusing on the principle. And the principle for startups that I want you to focus on is start with the end in mind. Start with the end in mind. Specifically as it relates to this, I want you to think of another way to look at this is, what is your exit strategy? What's the end goal? Where do you want to end up? So if you're starting a tech company, in a social media company, are you trying to be the next Facebook? Are you going to be Clubhouse? Are you trying to be the next X or Twitter? Or do you want to sell your product to the next to X and Twitter? Do you want to become acquired by those? Or you be more like Vine, where your features and your innovations are sold to Meta or Facebook and become part of Instagram? So you have Vine or something like akin to Instagram stories, or Instagram, videos. And then you also have companies like Snapchat, where Snapchat has certain features, but then Snapchat, pretty much becomes integrated into what we know as Instagram stories today. So where do you want to be? Are you trying to become the sole provider or the major market shareholder of a particular space? Or do you want to become a contributor? Or do you want to have your technology, your product be acquired by one of these major players in the market? So do you want to be acquired, or do you want to be the major player yourself? You just want to get some money out of the deal. Like, what's your goal? Or are you trying to solve a problem and contribute to humanity and just leave something behind that solves a huge problem, and you're not necessarily clear on where you want to end up? Either way is fine. But when it comes to answering this question, I have to know where you want to end up. Okay? So start with the end in mind. Another word you might hear in the startup space is called exit strategy. Exit strategy. And this principle, start with the end in mind, this specifically shapes how you're going to make decisions about intellectual property. So let's get started. So first, I want to set the foundation. So before we get to patents or trademarks, copyrights, NDAs, any other agreements, policies, and procedures, before we even start going through the whole laundry list of the 5 risk areas of IP we talk about, we teach in our academy, let's ask ourselves some questions. So we're going to help you. If you haven't started with the end in mind, what this listening to this will help you. So what's your end game? Ask yourself, are you building a product to grow into a large-scale company? Or are you planning to sell your company to a major player like Amazon or Google? Or are you just creating a sustainable business to support your lifestyle? So for example, my company, Patent Insider, and also Patent Insider Academy, this is the goal of our company, is to create a sustainable business to support lifestyle. So sustainable business in terms of the business model. It is also a goal to solve problems in intellectual property, to provide value to founders, startups, companies at all phases when it comes to intellectual property. Our focus is intellectual property strategy, and especially the insider knowledge of how to get things through the patent office, as well as how to clarify your intellectual property strategy for success and profits for your business. So that's our business model. So I'm very clear on that. I'm not trying to grow into a large scale company, and I'm not trying to sell my company to a major in this space, in my market. The goal is to create a consistent, sustainable business. So the decisions that I make for my business are going to be different than if you have another focus. If you want to grow into a large scale company, you're going to make different decisions than if you're going to sell your company, or if you're going to just create a sustainable business. So what we just talked about, those questions, is your exit strategy, not just your business model, exit strategy. And it's a guide to how you do everything when it comes to your business. If your goal, for example, if your goal is acquisition, selling to a big company, if you want to sell your company to a larger company, you want to sell your small social media startup to a Facebook or Meta, then intellectual property like patents becomes extremely valuable. Technology becomes extremely valuable. Validation, traction becomes extremely valuable. Here's why. Companies don't just buy products. They buy defensible assets that protect their investment and will give them leverage in the market. So when you look back at acquisitions, like we talked about Vine, well, what Vine gave Instagram at that time access to was a way to connect with an audience in a way that was popular, but they had a larger market than Vine did. So let me acquire this company, bring them into our fold, bring the technology into our existing platform, and make our platform better. A lot of larger companies, large scale companies like Amazon, Google, Meta, they grow through acquisition, not just through internal research and development. They find companies to acquire that are doing the research and development and advanced technology, saying, wow, that they have something here. It's not the full version of the product, the mature version of the product, but it's somewhere we can start. And this will allow us to position ourselves for a better future. So let's acquire them and take that research and tech and development and make our existing platform better. Now, if you're aiming to stay small or grow organically, then patents may not need to be your first priority. But if you are focused on positioning yourself for acquisition, patents can be the difference between an average offer and a life-changing deal. All right, so that's number one, setting the foundation. Why you start with the end in mind, it determines what decisions you make. All right, so let's get into this a little bit more. So let's get specific. Why is intellectual property essential for acquisitions? So, for example, why would a company like Google or Amazon care about patents when acquiring a startup? For instance, let's look at this using the question that we had. Take Amazon's acquisition of Ring. They weren't just buying a doorbell camera. They were buying a home security ecosystem backed by a portfolio of patents. Those patents provided Amazon with a layer of protection against competitors while also increasing Ring's valuation. Similarly, when Google acquired Nest, they paid a premium for its IP, covering everything from a thermostat technology to smart home integrations. So these are two things. If we look at it, they both look like, these are video doorbells, but they have different portfolios of intellectual property. So for Ring, for example, yes, it's a doorbell camera, but it's a home security ecosystem. So it's not just a doorbell camera. You have cameras around the home, exterior, certain interior common spaces, and it allows you a robust home security system. And it has patents for all of these things. The same thing when Google acquires Nest. Nest is more, although they do have a video doorbell, their IP covers thermostat technology, so smart home technology for covering, your heating and air conditioning in a home, as well as, opening and locking doors, and many other things that can be controlled. So this is the purpose of the IP portfolio, and it created higher valuations for these companies when they were acquired. So patents are especially valuable because they're not just about stopping competitors outright, because people are people. If people want to steal, people want to do fraudulent things, people can do that. Criminals do those things. You can't, just because you have a law on the books, it doesn't stop all crime. So just having a patent does not stop all competitors, or especially fraudulent ones. But what it does is create leverage. So as a startup, you want to think about that, creating leverage. It can slow down copycats. It can force competitors to negotiate licenses in good faith. But more importantly, it signals to investors and acquirers that your business has defensible long-term value. So when they're looking at your revenue, they're going to give you a multiple of that revenue. You can negotiate additional value, not based on revenue, but based on the fact that you have a portfolio that allows your business to be defensible and that you can create long-term value. So that's important. The next step, so like I said, we're going to talk about 5 things. So the first thing was start with the end in mind, setting the foundation. 2, why IP is essential for acquisitions. We just talked about that. 3, what's the role of patents in building value? So the second part of the question was, does that mean, should I rush and file a patent immediately? Not at all. Number one, if you listen to everything so far, initially, every idea, every tech company, every product does not need a patent. And also every product, everything is not patentable. So no, you don't need a patent. You may need a different type of IP protection. You may need a trademark to protect your brand. You may need a copyright, depending on if you have code or things like that. But do you need a patent? Do you need to rush out and drop everything and just put all your coins together and get a patent immediately? Not necessarily. Timing also matters. So what does that mean? What patents do for startups, patents differentiate you in a crowded market. For every nest and ring, how many other companies had similar technology but didn't have any type of protection, which made their investment less valuable? They give you a negotiating partner with investors or partners. If you don't have any IP, you kind of have to either accept or deny the offer. So it's like, offering a house, wait for another buyer, but your negotiating power is limited. And then, also allows you to have an aligned acquisition focused exit strategy. And especially if that's your end game is to sell your company or to partner or leverage, license to a larger company, any type of interaction that allows you to acquire revenue or receive revenue from a larger company. Having IP gives you another layer of negotiation and another asset that can be leveraged. So for example, let's look at this. If competitors like Nest or Logitech see your product gaining traction, a patent might not stop them from entering the market, but it could make them think twice. If you only have one patent, but if you have a patent portfolio that fortifies, you have a patent moat that's around the whole landscape of your market, then it might lead them to say, let's not get into a legal battle, a lawsuit with these guys. Let's license this technology. So it might invite licensing technology rather than competing head on. So that's where patents also shine. It's not a weapon to stop all competition, but it's a strategic asset that increases your startup's value. So think about that strategic asset. We're building intellectual property assets. Number 4, the bigger picture. Why exit strategy comes first. So let's zoom out. Patents are just one piece of a larger puzzle. To make the right decisions as a founder, you need to think about the big picture. So let's prioritize. Number 1, what is your exit strategy? When it talks about the answer to this question, you have to know where you want to end up. If your goal is acquisition, patents are worth pursuing early. If you're bootstrapping, focus on speed to market. Don't necessarily ignore IP altogether, but minimally, if you need, if your product may need a patent, just do provisional and then go speed to market and focus on validating the market, getting feedback from focus groups and validating, what kind of revenue you can generate traction, boots on the ground, and be as nimble, quick, and hustle and get things done. And the patent may not be the priority, okay? Number two, you want to think beyond the patent. So what makes your startup unique? Patents help, but your customer relationships, your brand loyalty, your innovative features. What do you have to leverage outside of intellectual property? Because intellectual property is a longer play. It's not an immediate play. And then you also want to use the intellectual property strategically. You're not just filing just for the sake of it. I remember being at an event and a gentleman came to a invention con event at the USPTO, and they had us sitting at tables, and I was sitting at a table with a guy who was trying to get, I think he had some like kind of lawnmower invention or something like that. And he said, I hope while I'm here I can meet with the examiner that has my patent. He's holding me up. I said, yeah, I used to be an examiner before, I started in this space I am now. And, maybe I can help. I don't want to talk to you. I just want to talk to the examiner. I said, well, what's the purpose of your patent? I just want to hang it on my wall. I mean, that'd be the amazing thing to say I have a patent. I can hang it on my wall. I said, well, if you have $25,000 or more to waste to hang something on, some artwork, I have something that you can invest in that might appreciate more than the patent itself. And the guy got upset with me. I said, well, I've tried to explain the purpose of, we're here at the invention con. The purpose of this is USPTO exists inside the Department of Commerce. The goal of patents is to protect instruments of commerce. So your product should contribute to the economy of the United States of America. That's the goal. Should you produce something that's valuable commercially to the public? And at the end of the day, he was like, yeah, I just want to hang it on my wall. So he was not in a space to even hear or think about using intellectual property strategically. But there's definitely no value in filing patents just for the sake of it, unless it's a vanity thing. But the focus is on protecting the core technologies that are hard to replicate. So not just on the fluff stuff, but on the things that you're making a core contribution in technology that are moving innovation forward, that are creating a new market, and you want to protect yourself. And then lastly, in this bigger picture, you want to make sure you're positioning yourself for growth. Investors or acquirers are looking for startups with a clear plan for scalability, profitability, and defensibility. The patents can help you with defensibility, but scalability and profit is still your responsibility. You have to have marketing plans. You have to have, engagement with the market. You have to show how you're going to be profitable, how many years, how many months it's going to take you to get profitable. And once you get profitable, what kind of injections of capital do you need to scale? When will those investors get their money back? What's your plan of action? It has to be very clear. And so you start with the end in mind. As we, before we close the fifth, so we said that we're going to talk about 5 things, and I want to just remind you what they are. The first is setting the foundation. Start with the end in mind. It's the answer to your question. Second, why IP is essential for acquisition. We went over that. Then we talked about the role that patents play in building value. And then we, discuss why exit strategy comes first, looking at the bigger picture. And the fifth thing is, so what are some actionable steps? And this is, we want to give you some practical steps today. This is what this Patent Insider Academy is about: quick to the point, focused, but also giving you actionable steps as founders. What can you do? So here's some practical steps you can take today. Number 1, clarify your goal. Do you want to exit through acquisition or IPO? Are you trying to become a unicorn? Or do you just want steady growth? Your path is going to influence every decision. So first, clarify your goal. Write it down. 2, assess your IP needs. And this is something that we do if you've taken the 5-day IP Mastery Challenge, or you've gone through the modules in the academy, then you know that this is one of the things we will work with you on, how to assess your IP needs. You can also conduct like an IP audit. Identify the core innovations in your product. Is there something worth patenting? Maybe you need a patentability search and assessment to get in the details to see, is it worth filing? Can I even get a patent on it? Consult an expert. You can work with our experts here, and agents, patent attorneys, and IP strategists that can build a plan for your business that aligns with your goals. You can consult with us here at Patent Insider. And then you want to focus on execution. Patents are valuable, but they're not a substitute for building a great product and serving your customers. So you don't want to get lost in the idea of, I'm filing patents. I've got 4 or 5 patents filed and you have no execution. You need to make sure that you're executing. And you want to make sure you're building, executing on your ideas, getting feedback from the market. If you have a million patents, but no one wants to buy what you're selling, then that's a waste. Again, the patent protects what is commercial value in the marketplace. If there's no innovation, there's no market, there's no value. 5, stay adaptable. The startup journey, is unpredictable. This is similar to our 5th pillar of intellectual property for founders, grit. You have to keep revisiting your strategy as your business evolves. You might say, you know what, ideally, I just want to sell this and license it. And you might, get hit sweet spot in the market and take advantage of some opportunities and find yourself that we need to reevaluate that. We actually are positioned where we could, become a publicly traded company. We have that kind of volume. Think about these companies startups like a Facebook, which was limited to Harvard University students, that expanded outwardly, and eventually was the restriction for colleges was lifted from it, and it became something that is, almost like a public utility today. You have to, if you're a functioning, breathing human being, you got to be on Facebook. So Facebook didn't start off that way. They started a startup and they actually were looking for acquisition. And then they became too big to be the acquisition. They became the acquirers at that point. So you may go through several phases of the startup. Stay adaptable. What makes sense today may not make sense. You might say, okay, this makes sense to get a patent now. And as you grow and you feedback from the market, you say, well, what we did a patent on then is not really important. What's actually going to solve some marketplace isn't something that's patentable. Maybe we need to pivot to brand, and it's something else we need to focus on. And what we thought was going to be the biggest defense for us, maybe the technology that's actually defensible and is really breakthrough for us is not the technology we filed the initial provisional patent on. We need to reevaluate our IP strategy. That's okay. So in conclusion, to answer the question, where should you begin when building a tech startup? We all should say this together. Start with the end in mind. Define your exit strategy and let that guide your decisions about intellectual property, product development, and growth. And remember, success isn't just about having a great idea. It's about building something with long-term value that aligns with your vision. So thank you for joining me today on Patent Insider Academy live Q&A. If you have any more questions, drop them in the comments or message me directly. Let's keep the conversation going until next time. Keep innovating and building. And again, drop your questions into the platform. We take the next question for next week. We take it by Tuesday of next week. So I look forward to chatting with you. We're going to have a lot more members in the academy. Keep asking questions, keep engaging with the content. Me and other members of the Patent Insider Academy team will be continuing to answer your questions and helping. The more you interact, engage with the content, and the more that you ask us questions, the more valuable insights we're able to give you. With that, thank you for joining us today. Patent Insider Academy live Q&A for December 5th, 2024, and signing off. Till next time.